On today's episode of NLS Chronicles with Zion, I'm going to be talking about three very important tips you need to be mindful of when you're in the Nigerian law school. So, guys, I had to realize these tips towards the end of my law school program. It's just so important for you to know these tips if you're just going into law school. I wish I knew them earlier, even though there are no regrets, but at the end of the day, I still wish I knew them earlier. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time of joining us, I want to welcome you specially to this channel. I promise you mean the world to me. My name is Zion and I talk about everything lifestyle and skincare. If you're here to hit the subscribe button, kindly do so right now so that each time I post a new video, you get notified. And guys, this video is like part of a series of videos and where I get to talk about my experience in NLS and drop some useful tips to aspirants to the bar. So you want to make sure you turn on your post notification so each time I drop a new video, you'll be the first to get notified. Thank you. Work hard, work smart, paying attention to details. These tips I'm actually talking about are very, very important if you're in law school, not just Nigerian law school at this point, but law school in general. Now, let's talk about working hard, guys. There is a system that is actually in place in universities, but I understand that you might have been used to this system, not just universities, even from your secondary school, there is a system that is in place. But guys, see, I hate to break it to you. That system does not work in the Nigerian law school. Let me give you an illustration of what I'm talking about. So I don't know if this is the same in other universities, but you know we start a section after some series of lectures, we have exams, right? Now, yes, this is the same case with law school, just that before you have exams, you have weeks of externship. And now this externship is when you actually go to a firm to intern at the firm, and also you are assigned to a court, like an actual court, to gather experiences, just to have a practical aspect of everything you're being taught. Now, guys, see how it works in universities is that towards exam we start reading. I don't really think, except for the really nerdy ones. For me, I was not part of the nerdy people in university. In fact, I start reading the moment the timetable drops in my uni. Like, I wasn't that much of a serious person, and to be honest, I used to stop classes in uni. Like, I used to stop classes a lot. This is a very bad thing to do, guys, and I'm not advising anybody to do it. But yeah, of course, during our uni, we have days where we stop classes, right? Now, I hate to break it to you that you can't do any of those in the Nigerian law school. And when we go into the Nigerian law school, the I remember during our orientation, one of the things that the lecturers kept hammering on was that you have to start reading now. Like, you have to start reading. You can't wait for the exam timetable to come before you start reading. Like, you have to start reading from day one. And why do they say this? Because actually, guys, the bulk of work, the bulk of the syllabus of the Nigerian law school is a whole lot. So you can't even depend on the knowledge you are going to acquire. You can't depend on knowledge you are going to acquire when like few weeks to the exam. You can't start reading few weeks to the exam. You can't start reading a month to the exam. That is not even possible. I don't think that is going to work for anybody. So you must have been attending lectures, you must have been reading, like reading and reading, because at the end of the day, the way law school law school work is so bulky, you you are going to like read a course, and the moment you go into another course, you can't even, you'll be like, God, how will I retain all this information? There are lots of information you need to retain, and the only way you can achieve that is to start reading early, guys. It is very, very important to start reading early. So you can't bring that style of you reading when the exam timetable drops, or few weeks to the exam, that you used to do in your university. You can't do it in the Nigerian law school. It's not really going to work. You just find yourself stressed, like extremely stressed, because even people that have been reading from day one, when it gets to exam time, everybody's stressed because they're trying to like read at the last minute. Talk less of somebody that has not been reading like sense. So you have to make sure that you're reading everything. And each course is like a whole thing on its own. So you have to really get the knowledge and understanding. Okay, you need to get the knowledge and understanding of the courses you're actually reading. And guys, see, speaking of working hard, you have to really read in law school. You can't bring the lackadaisical attitude you have towards reading. For me, I'm a type of person. I'm not saying this to like bash anyone. I'm saying this because even me myself, I used to be someone that doesn't like reading. I used to be someone that does not like reading at all. Like anything academics, I don't like it. I don't like reading. Like I was the most laziest person you can ever meet. But I just had to, when I go into law school, I have to sit myself down and tell myself that, oh, you can't keep you can't keep doing this to yourself, because law school is not something you want to do twice. Like I would not wish that on my worst enemy. So it is very, very important that you start reading early so you're able to meet up with the syllabus. Now, speaking about working hard, guys, yes, still on working hard, I want you to understand something, that see, when you read and read, it is going to get overwhelming. You are going to get weary, you are going to get tired. But see, guys, you can't stop. No matter how frustrated you get in law school, you can't stop, because you just have to keep going, because you don't have any other choice. So, and see, guys, the thing about reading early is that it really helps you, when you're about to start your exams, few weeks to the exams, the reading you're going to be doing few weeks to your exams is very, very important, and it is what will help you in your exam. But the reading you've done like early, like way, way, way past before exam, is going to help you when you are reading during that exam period. So it's just like when you've read something once, you've read something twice, you read something the third time, the fourth time you're reading it, which is probably the last time, it's going to like seem very, very easy. You won't feel like, oh, you're absorbing a lot of information, because you are more familiar with those things. So it is very, very important that you start reading early and read the things you've read over and over and over again till you know it very well. Now, guys, let's move to my second point, which is working smart. Now, guys, I've spoken about working hard, right? So it's very important to work hard. You have to read. But another thing that is also important is working smart. You can't undermine the fact that you have to work smart in law school. Now, how do you work smart? See, guys, it's not just about reading. It's not just about reading and reading and reading and reading. When I go into law school, one thing I used to do was just read. I was just be reading like I'm reading storybook, because some of those things I didn't understand it. So I'll just keep reading it. It was new to me, so it's normal for me not to even understand it at first. So I'll just keep reading and reading. But something you want to make sure you're doing is understanding it, not just reading but studying. Now there is a difference between reading and studying. When you read something, yes, you're reading it, right? But if you really want something to stick to your head, you have to study it. You have to understand it in depth. You have to understand the depth of what you're reading. You have to really ask yourself questions. You have to practice questions. You have to interrogate yourself if you really, really know what you just read. So that is the only way that won't make you forget what you read. But if you're just reading and reading and reading, sometimes you forget. And that's just the truth. And there is like a bulk of work in law school that if you read something today, by tomorrow, if you read another thing, you might not really remember again. So the only way to make sure that everything you're reading is being retained in your head is just to study it and understand it perfectly. And guys, sometimes it's not just about reading and reading long hours. You have to put in measures that will allow you to actually retain the knowledge. And what are these measures? One of them is studying past questions. Now, guys, there is this controversy about past questions, and I think the controversy behind past questions is caused by how people approach past questions. Now, you will hear from some people saying that, oh, past questions is what helped me. Past questions really helped me during law school. Past questions really, gave me the pointer to read. I was studying past questions. No, past questions was a lifesaver. And you hear some people say, hey, don't even move near past questions. Or in fact, if you study past questions, when you get to the exam, or you are going to be on your own. You realize that most of those things that you studied did not come out. Most of those things in past questions did not repeat any question. Now, what is the actual deal about past questions? Speaking from my own experience, guys, because I will not like to generalize any opinion I have here. Now, something I really noticed or studied about past questions is that, first of all, past questions are of a great help. Now, past questions is going to help you. How is it going to help you? Past questions will make the system, the way, the method by which law school ask their question, it will make it familiar to you. Because see, guys, you can't. I said something earlier that the system, the educational system in law school is different from your uni. Now we're used to writing stories in uni, stories in quotes, like writing 6, 7 pages, 10 pages sometimes to answer a question. But sometimes in law school, they really need short answers from you. They don't need, they don't need story at all. Now I'm going to talk about that after I'm done with this. Past questions are going to help you. You're going to get used by studying past questions. You get used to how law school really asks their questions. Taking a question, for example, they might ask you a question, but there are like 5 or 4 answers to it. And I'm not even kidding you. I kid you not. It's not like the question there will be one A. Yes, there will be one A, one B. But inside one A, you might have to answer 4 things. And now, if you're someone that is not used to answering the law school questions, you're not going to get used to that system, and you're not going to get used to the way they want your answers to be. So it is very important you study past questions. Let me not lie to you. Law school questions is not just beans and bread. It's not simple. Like, okay, I'm not saying it's hard, but it's not. They're training us to be lawyers. They're training us to think. They are training us to think. They are training us to rack our brains. They are training us to use our heads. Because guys, see, in life situations, when your client comes to you, you're not going to get basic situations like that. You're going to get complex and complicated situations. So when you are in the midst of delivering to your client, how best can you think? So that is what they are training us for. So you can't expect their questions to be, just simple like that. Oh, they ask you what is civil litigation. Civil litigation is, now they're not going to ask their questions like that. They are going to put their questions in a scenario and give you a question that would allow you to think and find the answer. So most of the times the answers are hidden, and it is your own job, it is your own responsibility to find them. So you can't say, oh, because there is a way you answer questions in university, there's a way you answer questions in secondary school. Leave all those things. Just know that, okay, there is a new system here, and this is what is expected of me to do. So it is when you answer past questions that you are able to get familiar with how to answer those questions. Now, I was saying something about people taking the wrong approach to past questions. Now, where I think people, guys, say this is a disclaimer. I'm saying that everything I'm saying in this video is based on my own experience. So other people might disagree on this. Now, I think where people get it wrong with past questions is studying past questions and expecting those questions to come out in their present exam. Now, it is normal for law school to repeat topics, right? Of course, it is the topics that you are taught that is going to come out. For example, in criminal litigation is one of the courses you'll be taught in law school. In criminal litigation now, it is like a constant assurance. It is very, very sure. I don't want to say it is very sure. Charges will always come out. Charges is like a topic that must come out every year. I don't want to say must, but I've not really seen a year where maybe I've not really studied all the past questions, but there is barely a year that charges does not come out. So yes, that topic will definitely come out. But now, studying some sets of past questions, maybe like 10 years past questions, and cramming those questions is where people get it wrong, and expecting law school to actually repeat those particular set of questions. I don't think that is possible. Yes, they might have repeated questions in the past, they might have repeated questions in MCQ, but see, it's better to play safe with bar finals, guys. You don't want to be studying some particular set of area when you can actually study the whole thing. You don't want to be caught unawares in the exam. Or guys, I promise you that is like a terrible feeling. I promise you this. Law school is not hard. So long you actually so long you actually read everything you've been taught. Shikena. That's all. So I think where people get it wrong is, focusing on past questions alone and not just reading broadly, reading every nook and cranny. See, guys, you have to read. And also, you have to read page to page, from pali to pali. If you don't understand what I just said, I'm saying from the front page to the last page, you have to read everything. So you don't want to leave any stone untouched at all, and you don't want to be caught unawares in the exam. Or so yeah, you have to study past questions, but don't rely on only past questions to pass exam. Then another thing I'm going to be talking about is how you can work smart. I've spoken about studying past questions. Now, another thing I want to talk about is study groups. Now, people might also have controversial opinion about study groups, but study groups help in one, being accountable. Keeping It's good to have like a community of people that keeps you accountable to reading and studying, and then you can also practice what you've learned with these people. Though it is very important that you are very, very sure of what you've learned, because sometimes the person that you're asking a question might know the wrong thing, and then you know the right thing. So you have to be sure of yourself. And also studying with study groups. For me, I had a study group when I was in law school, and it really helped me. Yeah, shout out to my study group members. So having a study group really helps, because whatever you guys are studying, it helps it stick more in your head than when you're just reading it on your own. So having a study group also helps. Then guys, see, prayer and God, you can't underestimate prayer and God, because that is the only thing that will help you work smart. Because see, guys, in law school, it's not about how hard you work. That's just the truth. We've seen people that work hard. See, I don't even think it is possible for someone to go into the Nigerian law school and then you didn't work hard. Now, most of the people that had to do receipts, I don't think it's because they didn't read. It's not possible for you to see everybody around you reading and you decide not to read. But the thing is just that law school is all about God's grace and mercy. So you want to make sure you are putting God in everything you do. And guys, another thing you want to make sure you're doing is being active, participating. And see, guys, some people might also have like a controversial idea about participating in activities in law school. But me, from my own point of view, I feel like this thing keeps you on your toes. Like me, when I was in law school, I was a group leader. I'm not saying you have to be a group leader, but the moment I got into law school, I made that decision to be a group leader, because I felt that, oh, even days when I'm feeling low, when I don't want to, I'll have something to be responsible for. So that really kept me on my toes. And I also participated in mock trials. Though it might be stressful, most of the time people will say, oh, that's not what you should be focusing on. You should be focusing on bar finals. But of course, bar finals is one of the main things you are focusing on. But little things to help here and there will keep you, you know, motivated towards passing the bar finals. So yes, it is very, very important for you to work smart and work hard in the Nigerian law school. The last thing I'm going to be talking about is paying attention to details. This was one of the things I said I wish I realized earlier in law school. See, guys, you need to understand that you're not just going into a basic institution. You're being trained to become a lawyer, right? You're being trained to become a lawyer. And one of the important qualities of a lawyer is paying attention to details, because it is only when you pay attention to the details that you'll be able to see the mistakes, the loopholes in your client's theory and in your client's case and your client's testimony. So, of course, in law school, they will train us to pay attention to details. So don't just, have a vague idea of things. Don't just generalize them. You have to be specific and look in between the lines. Sometimes when we ask questions in law school, and you just answer just like that. But there are some things, I said earlier that law school is not just going to ask you a question like straightforward. They want you to think, they want you to use your head. Okay? So it is very important to pay attention to details. See, when you want to answer any question, Don't just read it once, read it 3 times. Guys, see, this is like a terrible mistake I had to learn from, because I have seen myself answer questions, past questions, and I realized that I didn't read in between the lines. I didn't read to understand the questions I was being asked. Now, this is very important because if there is a question that maybe question 4 is on trial, right? And question 1 starts with them asking you some questions about what is in the scenario. And now you might not realize that the rest of the questions are dependent on the answer you gave in the first one. Now imagine you missed question 1, which means you are going to answer the rest of the questions wrongly. So it is very important to every question is very important when writing the bar finals, when practicing your past questions, because you have to be able to read in between the lines. You have to be able to really understand what you are being asked. When you read a question, ask yourself, what does the examiner want me to do in this question? What is required of me? Do I really understand what they're asking me to do in this question? Ask yourself this question before you proceed to answer. And me, I made a rule when I realized that I kept making mistakes of, not reading in between the lines. I told myself before I answer any question, I'm going to read it at least 3 times to really understand the grasp. And now, guys, see, this is a tip that my mentor told me in law school. Shout out to my mentor, Mr. Ibrahim. This is a tip he told me. When you answer your question, go back to the question and read it. Now, read your answer again. Then ask yourself that this answer I put down, did it really answer the question that was asked? So when you do that, you are satisfied that, oh yes, I really attempted this question and I answered this best to my satisfaction. And you have to ask yourself, have I said everything that needs to be said? Because I've seen situations whereby the question has like 5 marks, but because they asked you something. Take for example, there was a question where they asked about the date for bringing an election petition in court. And me, I'm like, oh, it's 21 days now. 21 days, 21 days from the 21 days. Me, I just wrote 21 days. That's when I saw the answer. It was within 21 days from the date of declaration of results. Instead of getting my full 2 marks, I had just 1 mark because I didn't state everything fully. So that is very important when you're trying to answer your question. You want to make sure that you are satisfying the examiner. That even if you yourself you are marking it, you know that yes, you've tried your best. Law school is not hard. I want you to first free yourself, disabuse your mind of the fact that law school is hard. Because if you go with that mindset, everything is going to be hard. But the thing is just that there are some rules. Just like there's nothing in life that doesn't have its own rules. So if you play by the rules and by the books, I promise you, you're going to make it out there. So, guys, I hope these tips have been of help to someone out there. And if it has, please share this to someone you think might need this. If you watch to this point, I want to say a big thank you. And if you're yet to hit the subscribe button is below this video, and don't forget to turn on your post notifications to get my subsequent video notifications. Those are my handles on the screen. Don't forget to follow me on all socials at the Zion. And with that, I will see you in my next video. Bye. Mwah.